Hi, how are you? I must admit, I'm a bit tired today. For no reason, woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and now it's quarter to two and I can feel I'm flagging now. But I woke up and I was like, this is amazing. I wake up early and get so much done. So I just started like working and listening to podcasts and this and the other. And yeah, now I'm feeling it. So joys of perimenopause. Yeah, changing sleep schedules. Um, on Wednesday, I was invited to a podcast to be the guest on a podcast called Veterinary Ramblings, and they have a funny thing whereby you have to prepare a CPD for a total of 60 seconds that you have to deliver something that comes from your heart. And I decided to talk about why everyone needs coaching, especially in vet med. And obviously, 60 seconds is not enough for everything I have to say about this, but I do want to deliver the 60-second CPD to you so you can hear it in case you do not listen to the Vet Ramblings podcast. Although, of course, I recommend that you listen to the episode I'm on, which is going to be released whenever. Um, but I'll share what I said and then I'll go a bit in depth with it. So, first, we believe we'll be happy when we get into vet school. Then, we believe happiness will come when we graduate as vets. After a while, maybe we'll be happy in another clinic or when we feel more confident. If the outer world defined our happiness, then why are so many rich and famous people depressed on drugs? Happiness comes from inside. When we believe happiness is to be found outside of us, we are leaving it in the hands of everyone around us, which there's no way to control. Coaching helps us be aware of and choose how we want to think and feel. This way, we're able to define our experience of life inside and outside of the clinic. Coaching is necessary because you can't read the label from inside the bottle. With coaching, you can get a perspective on how you're currently experiencing life and decide what you want to change. It gives you power over your own life. Ding! Those were 60 seconds. I prepared it to perfection, so it was like 59 seconds long because I didn't want to go over time. I'm a perfectionist, and although I deal well with it, I still comes in when I have to do things like that. Also, I heard a podcast where they were talking about I think it was about communication, and they said the worst nightmare of a radio host or TV host is when the guests just keep on rambling along and they can't stop them. So that's kind of stuck to me. So whenever I'm a guest somewhere and I'm asked to talk for a specific amount of time, I'm like dead on time. You see that if you coach with me, you'll see if I do any workshops or webinars, I'm dead on time because I just think time is it's the biggest valuable asset we have more than money. Because if you lose money, you can recover it. But time, you're never going to get back, which is why I'm not going to lose yours. Okay. So having said that, if we always what I wanted to say with this is that we always think that when this next things comes, then I'll be happy. And I see that in so many people. I have a friend that was forever first unhappy because he was divorced and he wanted to have a girlfriend. Then he had the girlfriend and then they were a bit unhappy because they wanted a kid. Then they had a kid and they were a bit unhappy because the kid is not quite what they had expected it to be. Then he wasn't happy with the job. Then he got another job. Then he wasn't happy with that job. Then they got another kid. Now, and so on and so on. And it's always this like, he had a house and he was like, when I sell the house, then I'll be happy. Then he sold the house, but then it was something else. And it's like a carrot on the stick. And at VetMed, I see it as, oh, if I could only work in this clinic instead, or if I could only go down in hours, or if I only wasn't a vet, if I was something else, if I'd only studied more and I knew more, if I'd only specialized, if I don't know, so many things, I'll be happy when. And I want you to think about what is your I'll be happy when. What is it that you think you're missing right now in order to be happy or fulfilled? Because I can assure you that it is the carrot on a stick, that you're running after it and you're constantly thinking when you get there, you'll be happy, but you never reach that happiness. And why is because when you get there, let's say that if you're a new vet and you think, okay, once I'm comfortable doing surgeries, won't have this anxiety inside. So maybe you finally get good at doing bit space and you reach it. And in that moment, of course, you feel happy, but you feel happy because your brain is thinking, going back to the model, you have a circumstance, ability to do bit space in less than 2 hours. You're thinking, oh, I nailed it. I can finally do it. I'm good at this. And then you feel happy and fulfilled. And then you go by your day and it's amazing. But that thought, I'm good at this, I finally did it, that's not going to stay. Because once you've reached that thing, it becomes your new baseline. And now it's like, oh, but I want to be able to do orthopedic surgeries. Or I want to be able to, I've never done a stomach torsion. I should do that. I should be able to do a gastropexy. Your brain is going to keep searching for something new because that's just what us humans do. We always think that once we know this, then it'll be better. Once we can do this, we'll be better. Once we own this or we have this capacity or we have this money, then I'll be happy. So I really want you to think about the thing or the things you think you need in life in order to have a happy and fulfilled life in and out of VetMed. So that is step one. Really be aware of what you're doing to yourself with this, always running after the carrot and the stick. And if your I'll be happy when is a change in your situation, say you want out of the clinic you're working, you want to maybe become an entrepreneur and start up by yourself, or maybe you just want to go or work somewhere else, or maybe you want to start a certification, whatever it is, whatever your thing is, if it's something you got to do, something you have to practice, something you have to like take big steps and you have to inform people, I'm leaving, I'm coming, I'm doing this, I have to invest this money. I want to tell you that I was just coaching a client on this who can't make her mind up whether to stay or leave the clinic. And the conclusion was, which is what we come back to all the time and with people in VetMed, because it's just something we do, is we have so much black and white thinking. So what this means is, let's say you're unhappy now because the clinic you're in is just not what you want anymore. You are doing too many shifts. You don't know how to set boundaries. The people you're working with are just don't have the same values as you. So you're unhappy here, right? So staying here is not ideal because assuming you're not changing anything within yourself, learning to set boundaries, not care so much about what people think about you. Let's say you stay exactly how you are with your patterns and your brain. You cannot be unhappy in this environment, right? You can't be happy here. So your brain is like, but I need to leave in order to be happy. And then start a new job or whatever it is you want to do. But black and white thinking, I can't be happy here, which is, this is just going to stay as it is. There's no way of changing the clinic or myself or my boundaries or the people I work with. Or I leave, but it's very difficult to leave because I don't want to hand my notice in because I'm super grateful to these people. They gave me a chance. If I hand the notice in, they're going to be upset. It's going to be difficult to leave. I will have to find somewhere else to live. I might have to drive far to go to work. I'm going to have to go to interviews. I'm going to have to update my CV. There's so many things over in this other scenario, black and white thinking, that is undesirable as well. And because both scenarios are undesirable, staying or leaving, we can get stuck in confusion. We keep going into this loop like, oh, I don't really want to stay here because it's hard and I can't set boundaries and people don't understand me. And you go, and then your brain is like, whoa, right over here, no middle way. I have to leave. Oh, but leaving is hard because now I have to go to interviews and I'm really bad at that. I don't like it. I'll have to drive. This job is closer. And then bouncing back. And you're bouncing from one to another and your brain is keeping you in this spin. Why does it do that? Because that seems incredibly painful and very draining, right? Yes, it is. And that's why a lot of you come to me with coaching around these things that keep you confused. Because brain wants us to be safe. The scenario we're in right now is not desirable because we don't really want to be here. But the other option of leaving seems worse because then I'll have to hand my notice in, which is uncomfortable because they've got to think about me and going to interviews as well, maybe whatever it is that's holding you back. It seems even scarier because I haven't done this yet. I might as well stay here. I'm staying here, but I'm also not deciding to stay. I'm not making the decision. I want to stay and I want to change things because it just seems too scary to make a decision. It's just too much. Because of the black and white thinking, there's no middle way. The middle way is I changed my way of thinking. I changed my patterns. I learned to set boundaries. I learned to not give so much fuck about what people are thinking about me so they can think whatever they want. I'm just going to work this way now, no? So I want you to notice as well, first of all, what is your I'll be happy when? And the second is, what is holding you back from doing this thing? If something is holding you back, notice if you're stuck in this situation of confusion, because you'll notice, because you spin and you constantly bouncing between two, constantly bouncing between two, and you will feel really drained, and it'll come up, and then you will like start to make the decision, and then your brain pulls you in again because that's just scary. And then you kind of start deciding one thing, and then your brain pulls you back in again. So that is really, really important to be aware of, because you can get stuck in a job for 20 years, being stuck in confusion and telling yourself that you don't have a choice and you can't really make the decision because it's really hard and you don't really know how to get out. Like the vet that said that this job is a prison, right? Because this vet cannot perceive that there is a middle way. There's other things you can do than either, stay in where you are or doing this other job precisely that maybe you're not qualified for or you just can't get around to apply for. So if this is your issue, first of all, I'll be happy when you've got to think about what is the feeling I'm going to have when these things happen. So let's say you either want to move clinic, you want to go to another clinic, or you want to be really good at a procedure that you're not good at or understand, I don't know, ECGs or electrolytes or something like that. And you're thinking, once I've nailed that, I'll feel more confident and I'll be happier. Or once I leave the clinic, I'll be happier. No? Think about the feeling you'll have. What is that feeling you're gonna have when you get to another clinic, or when you um, manage to get to have this capacity or this ability to do something you don't have right now? What is the feeling? So let's say a lot of vets I know are really nervous about the bed space. So let's say that you're really nervous about bed space. Now, how are you going to feel when you'll be good at bed space? That feeling that you want to have, let's say it's comfortable, or maybe more like some sort of achievement, or being proud or being confident that you can do this. You can achieve that feeling right now, because remember what we talked about earlier when I was spoken about the model is, you have a circumstance, you have a thought about that circumstance, and that thought is what drives the feeling, which means like that feeling of confidence, achievement, pride, you can achieve right now by changing the way you're thinking. So if you're right now thinking, yeah, but I'm not a good enough vet until I can spay a bitch under 2 hours, that thought is never going to leave you confident, right? But then you can, instead of that, you want to look at all the other things that you're good at now. So, for example, for me, it was taking bloods, placing catheters, interpret a hemogram, knowing how to run the biochemistry machine. I can castrate a cat. I can maybe spay a cat as well, and so on. So, make a list of everything that you're good at already. And then you can achieve that feeling of confidence, of achievement, of pride from everything you learned right now. And then you already have the feeling. Now, if you then want to be good at bitch space just because it's fun to be able to do it quickly, right? It is like quite fun. It's taking me a while, but I can do them really quickly now. Well, I probably lost a bit of ability now that I'm doing nights, but I can do a pyro or a C-section quickly. Then you can do it from a place where you are already happy and confident and content and fulfilled. The same as if you want to leave for another clinic. I'll be happy when I get another job. Okay, but what is the feeling you're going to have when you are at this other job? Are you leaving because in this clinic you feel anxious all the time, you feel stressed, you feel burnout, you feel frustrated? There's a saying in Denmark, well, we have so much mythology in the Nordic countries, but there's this thing about, we have a lot of farms, farm people, and in the old days we used to have a gnome, a Christmas gnome. Mythology, right? We had a Christmas gnome living in the hayloft, and the farmer had to make sure, the farmer's wife, to put out porridge or rice pudding for this gnome on Christmas Day, and so on and so on. Now, if they forgot, or because maybe they were a bit stingy, or they didn't want to use their porridge on a stupid gnome, the gnome would get really angry, and then him being angry will give them really bad luck. So, the milk would be sour, the calves would die, the cereal would go moldy, and so on. So sometimes they were so desperate that they would literally move to another farm, sell that farm and move to another one. But the gnome would move with them, so they would have the same problems in the next farm because they didn't address the gnome's anger. They didn't give him the porridge. It tends to be the same with our personal problems. So, if you lack confidence, if you tend to get really frustrated over cases, if you don't handle very well when other people give you feedback, if you are really struggling setting boundaries and saying yes to everything because you want to please others, you're very likely to take those patterns to the next clinic. And although in the beginning you're probably going to feel better, you very likely end up having the same behaviors and having the same problems in this other clinic. Unless the clinic you're in right now is literally the worst place on earth and is super over busy, understaffed, and very toxic. There are some places that you just need to get the hell out of there. But it's not the majority of places. I worked in a lot of places, and most of them you can handle. So if you're thinking, I'll be happy when I go to work in another clinic, what is the feeling you're looking for? Like happiness is very general. Maybe it is, I want to feel calm. I want to look forward to going to work. I want to feel grounded. I want to feel fulfilled at the end of the day. Those are all feelings you can achieve right now in your job by changing your perspective and changing your patterns and the way you approach things. For example, if the feeling you're looking for is looking forward to going to work, you have to work on what are the thoughts you're having around your current work. So let's say you got up in the morning and your first thought is like, oh my God, I have to go to work. It's the worst thing in the world. You're very unlikely to be able to gain that feeling of fulfillment or looking forward to work if you're thinking that. So you need to catch your brain doing that, and then you need to journal on it. Why am I not looking forward to work? How could I look forward to work? What is that work I could look forward to? And slowly change the way you approach it. Just as like being frustrated, let's say you're super frustrated because of the way they've set up some protocols just don't work with you. Okay, so what could you potentially change? How could you change the way you're thinking about these protocols? It's a little steps you could do. Could you have your own protocols? Like what are steps you can take already so you're not so frustrated all the time? Maybe you have some super high standards or super high expectations that nobody else fulfill. Okay, so how can you lower them a bit? Like why are they so high in the first place? Be a bit curious about what's going on. And then once you're happy and fulfilled where you are, regardless of what kind of work it is, then you're in a much better place to find another work if you still want to. Because trying to find another work from fight and flight, being stressed, being burned out, being desperate, hating where you are, it's just not a very good base. It's a bit like feeling desperately single and hating your life and not having enough money, and then desperately trying to find a partner to solve for that, to give you confidence and make you feel loved because you can't love yourself. It's just not a very good base for it. And you're feeling rubbish for a long time until you find this other job. If you keep letting your happiness, your fulfillment, if you keep thinking that that has to come from the outside world, you're always leaving it in the hand of others, and you're always leaving it in the hand of random circumstances. And life doesn't give a shit about what you feel and what you think. Others don't. Everybody are busy with their own thing. As kind, as compassionate, and empathetic people can be around you, they are really busy with their own lives. Their main thought when they wake up in the morning is not other people, for example, their thought when they wake up in the morning is not how can I make Gunila happy? How can I make sure she doesn't get frustrated? People are busy with their own shit. You can see that when you're driving, especially in the UK. Nobody has time for anybody else. We're all in our own little world. We are all the main character of our own story. So for you, imagine if, I don't know, Harry Potter, he just lets everybody else decide for him, and his happiness is just like he always thinks that, that everybody else, okay, he is the main character. So maybe it's a bad example, but you know what I mean? Like you are the main character for you, but everybody else are busy with their own life. You can't let everybody else be in charge of your happiness, be in charge of your fulfillment, and making sure that you love life. You are in charge of that. Of course, if you have a shitty boss or shitty management, it's not great, is it? But if you can handle it and you can be like, I've got a really shitty boss, they're really shitty here, I don't like them. Okay, fine. But can you still be happy and fulfilled and calm and grounded and kind of like just go with the flow until you can find another job? Or if you can save up to take leave for a while, instead of being in there, feeling you're forced to stay there, always thinking, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when, like pushing that happiness in front of you all the time and blaming management. Can you see the difference? And this is not about, if you were in a really difficult situation, then saying, oh, it's just all my fault. I'm just an idiot. It's the way I handle things. That's not it. But if we're constantly in victim mode and thinking life is happening to us, nothing happens for me, I can never find a way out, I'm stuck here, nobody cares about me, it's just not very powerful. You don't have a lot of cards to play with if you're thinking like that. You don't have then any control over it because you're letting everybody else, life, universe, management, be in charge of your feelings, which is not the best place to leave it, right? So think about that. Think about, I'll be happy when, what is it you're thinking? What are you actually doing towards it? What's the feeling you're looking for? What's the feeling you think you're gonna have when you achieve this thing? When? And how can you achieve that feeling right now so you don't have to wait for this thing? Because life is really short and who knows how long it's going to take you to get this thing or do this thing. Or if you're working on boundaries, I'm still working on my boundaries. And if I was waiting to be, I can only be happy when I know how to set boundaries 100%. Dude, that's just, I would never be happy because it's a work in progress. I'm getting better and better at it. And I'm fully aware of how I am and how I react and what I can do and where am I accountable. But there's never going to be this magic place, or it's way into the future at least, where I'm like, I'm boundary boss. I can set any boundary and I don't give a shit. That's a bit far ahead in the future. I need to find my inner happiness and fulfillment before that, for sure. I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to wait for others either to magically guess my boundaries so I can be happy, right? Okay, so when is and what is your I'll be happy when? What is the feeling you think you'll get when you achieve this thing? What are you doing right now? And where have you got white and black thinking that's keeping you stuck in confusion? So you're never making the decision and just constantly bouncing between the two. Okay, something to think about. Lovely to speak to you. Have a great week.